We must get those big trees cut down.
Oh, yeah.
I suppose really we wanted to address social isolation and the lack of contact with your community. You know, not having some place to go. It's definitely had an impact.
So today I've come to the beautiful village of Glenbrohane, and it's very, very peaceful and quiet as we're standing here just near the hall here, near the community hall. And today we're going to be discussing the hugely exciting plans for the local hub Glenbrohane.
I'm Grace Moore and we're here in Glenbrohane, beautiful Glenbrohane. If you look straight up there now, it's a bit of a misty morning, but we have the beautiful Shrievery Mountain that looks down on us all. Next door to the hall then, we have a building that used to be Tobin's Pub, but the licence has been sold, and I suppose that's the building we have big plans for.
And for somebody that maybe mightn't have come across the local hub or the plan, in a nutshell, what's going to be here?
Our vision really is to create a space where people can drop in, meet their neighbour, have a cup of tea, this kind of spontaneous catch up with somebody.
I'm Betsy Walsh. I've lived in Glenbrohane for nearly 13 years. I think the name kind of says it all as well, because it kind of came from the local pub, but it changed to the local hub. I mean, just the word hub, it's just like, you know, a centre of activity and just a centre point for, you know, things to be going on.
I'm Noreen Cummins, formerly Dalton, born in the village and very passionate about the hub. When the trees were cut down here, you had a magnificent view of the Galties.
Yes.
And I remember my father standing on the doorstep and he'd tell the weather by the Galties.
Oh,
Yeah.
I remember my granddad was able to do the same by the colour of them.
Yeah.
I'm John Vincent, born in the village and a part of the committee, and looking forward to our project.
We're walking up now past the hall in Glenbrohane, and it is picturesque here, but it's also very quiet. I think I can't help but notice, you know, we've been standing here for a few minutes and hardly a car has passed us. That quietness, was it always like this, or?
Listen, I lived there in Glenbrohane, just down the small bit, across there from Paddy's and Breed's, the small little cottage. I was originally born over across the line, which is down the road. And then when my grandfather died, we moved in with the grandmother here to a small little cottage. Now it's a cottage that was never short of any grub or tea. That house was always opened, day and night. There were strangers coming in. I remember the grandmother bringing in the travellers. And I said, Nana, what are you bringing in travellers for? Should they need tea as well? They were great people. I mean, we had Johnny Dalton and Miriam Dalton, my grandmother, Mary Finton, and I remember as a young child that they all going up to Mass on a Sunday morning up through the village. It was beautiful. And when you come down on a Sunday morning, then a treat here at Paddy's and Breed's shop, you get £1. It was like worth gold. Sweets all day. Sweets all day, £1. I remember as a young child then, you know, growing up here, great times. You'd do a little baba jobs, you'd get £1 for a bit of reading, and you'd go up next door to Mary O'Donnell's and you'd pick the berries to make a bit of jam. Help JP maybe to milk the cows, but you'd get a few F's from him, like JP was JP. Big changes here, big changes, but you know, happy childhood memories.
It was a hive of activity. The hall was the school. We had 2 shops. You know, people did all their shopping locally. So there were people around all the time, walking on bicycles, the creamery carts going by. It was never quiet. My mother actually had locks on both gates to keep, there were 8 of us, and to keep the smaller ones off the road. The busy road, it was called.
Yeah, I remember as a young child when you come down on a Sunday after Mass, the 2 pubs, absolutely packed. You couldn't get into the 2 pubs.
There used to be a shop in there as well.
There was
wasn't
a shop in there,
Tobin's?
yeah. Everything from bread, jam, butter,
like I suppose if you fast forward a little bit then, when, let's say there was a time when Glenbrohane would have been noted for being a really lively place to come to the pub. So I suppose people would come to Glenbrohane for a good night out and they go between the two pubs. Like, it would have been a really lively place to come to. Do you know, I would remember having sing-songs inside in Tobin's now. Yeah.
You're talking about shops and pubs. What is there now in Glenbrohane?
It's quite spread out. So you have our Catholic church, which would be, how far up the road would you think from here, Noreen? Maybe
About 1.5 mile.
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, 1.5 mile.
And then we have the like a small few residential properties, and we'd have the pub, Tobin's pub, that's closed down and it's falling into dereliction. You have the community hall. Next door then you have Noreen's home place and then next door to her is John's home place. You have Breed and Paddy's pub, and then you have the school. So that's the sum total of Glenbrohane at the moment.
So the pub is open every night still for a few hours, but you know, it's pretty quiet. There's people in most nights, a few, and then the odd party night when you have a crowd in, but it's fairly quiet.
We're saying it's quiet now, and it's daytime now, and it's quiet. What's
The pub
happened?
culture's definitely changed because, well, I suppose the drink driving and, you know, just people tend to stay at home more, which just adds to the isolation.
I think it's sad because going back when I was young, the doors are always open and people would say, come in for a cup of tea. Now people pass each other by and, you know, people do have problems, but, you know, a problem solved is a problem shared. You know, a cup of tea, a chat, that's all it takes.
That's the thing now, though. People don't really call into other people just for a cup of tea. You have to have a reason to kind of call on someone, and I think that's really sad.
What impact has that had?
It has affected lots of people in the locality. Like there's been a few suicides. I think I would imagine men in particular find it difficult. I think there's something like maybe just under 40% of our male population in Glenbrohane are not working, and I would say, you know, not having some place to go wouldn't, I suppose, be good for their mental health or well-being. It's definitely had an impact. What do you think, John?
Yeah, it definitely has an impact because my own personal experience, I've gone through it myself, you know, and, you know, the people that we have lost in the community, you know, which is very sad. And for a small community, it can be quite shocking. But from my own experience, it's very important that we do communicate and that we do get involved. And I find for myself from time to time, isolation is terrible. So if we don't mix with each other, I mean, like, you can get very down because as you can see here today, it's very quiet. But by mixing with people and sharing a problem, might be something small, might be a small task, but it's something that you're helping another person, you know.
I suppose it's feeling that, you know, you're valued and that people would notice if you weren't there.
Where we've come to now, we've just taken a short walk up. We're actually outside the premises that you're hoping that will become the local hub. Where did the idea come from at the very, very start?
One of the people that died by suicide would have been my father. I mean, that affected our family, it affected the whole community, I think, really deeply. And I suppose it was like, I suppose, a moment during the funeral when I was in the hearse actually with the undertaker, and we were coming from Glenbrohane Church down to Arklow Graveyard, and I remember sitting in the front seat of the hearse and looking around and seeing all these people with high-vis jackets and like all the members of the community and the wonderful sort of organisation they had put into, I suppose, making sure Daddy's funeral went okay, you know. I remember being very touched by that. After the mass then we went into the hall and there was, you know, the community put on a fantastic spread of food and looked after everybody so well. When something like that happens to you, your whole outlook changes in life. And I think that's what's motivated me to give something back, in a way to say thank you for the support. And also, I mean, we're going to have a men's shed to try and make sure that, that it doesn't happen again, that there's something there for men who may feel low, or anybody, man or woman.
And was this, I suppose, that idea you were seeing all the community, and were you in some ways thinking that people, that there is this big community, but that the people maybe don't have the chance to meet so much?
Yeah, I think about it, like I reflected a lot after the funeral, and, I think, there was this opportunity for the community to come together for a reason, a sad reason, unfortunately. But I suppose that community spirit, is there all the time. And I guess it's just unfortunate that really there isn't a place to focus that community spirit, or,
We've come up now to the building that is going to become the local hub. What are we looking at?
I suppose it's got a traditional sort of shop front, pub front.
We're hoping to keep the front of the building
Big windows at the
the
front.
same.
Yeah.
Keep the original front, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But the sign is gone now, and I suppose it's not in bad condition, but it's not in great condition. There's a few broken windows and things, and but I suppose it's a big building in the context of Glenbrohane. Do you know?
But it's pretty as well. It's just like a 2-storey sort of traditional building, and the lovely flowers are outside thanks to Tidy Towns. Imagine it, with people going in and out and benches outside.
Yeah. Can really sense the excitement that you have at the prospect of the local hub.
When the for sale sign went up, and I thought, what's going to happen to the building? It would be a perfect location for something for the community. I remember saying it to my mother, actually, when I went home. I was like, Tobin's is up for sale. And we chatted a bit about it, and I said, wouldn't it be a lovely spot for like a tea rooms or something like that? So I was on maternity leave at the time, so I had loads of time on my hands for writing these projects, plans. That's sarcasm. I didn't have very much time. But I sat down at the computer and I wrote something up. It was rough around the edges, but I just had to get it down on paper. And then I got Mam actually to drop it back to the owners, Mike and Joni Tobin. I suppose Joni read it first, and when it came through the letterbox, she picked it up, she read it. And that evening then Mike came back from playing golf and said that he'd sold the pub. And she was like, all right. Not to us now, mind.
So he had a different offer.
A different guy wanted to buy the premises. And she said, right, well, you better read this first. And then they just decided to let that offer go. And I mean, it's an incredible thing that they've done, a gift really to the community that they turned down, payment for a building in the hopes that we would get funding to do up the building, to pay them back, So it's incredible, really.
And I see that very invitingly the door is open here of Tobin's, or as it will be, the local hub. Do you think we'd be able to have a little peep inside?
Yeah, no problem. Go on ahead.
Oh, lovely. So we've just come inside, and it's sort of a mixture now between something that looks a little bit like the remains of a pub with some nice comfortable seats over here. Looks like there's work going on here.
Well, this is where the bar used to be, so that's all been pulled out. It's not actually any work going on yet. It's just the remains of what was there before.
So this part we're standing in right now will be the seating area of the tea rooms. So there'll be some nice, tables and chairs. We're hoping to keep a lot of the nice stonework and that sort of, pub type feel. And I guess straight through there will be a small meeting room. That piece of wall will be knocked. So that will be where the, let's say the grocery shop will be.
Over that far corner will be the kitchen.
And there'll be, I suppose our plans was to have a small computer room. I guess a lot of people in Glenbrohane, based on the CSO stats for 2016, don't have access to the internet or don't have access to a computer. But I think we're going to modify that plan slightly.
It can be a flexible room that people could use as, for instance, like a treatment room if somebody's doing whatever, reflexology or massage or whatever. Could be a small room that could be used for something like that.
And then upstairs there will be a 1-bedroom apartment that will be fully wheelchair accessible.
Out to the back there'll be a lovely garden, and past that we'll have the men's shed, which is going to be in a separate building up at the back.
And Betsy, as you're looking in here now, can you see the cafe? Do you already get excited?
Definitely, yeah. I just want it to be, comfortable chairs and just cosy,
nice
but
fire.
open and nice and cosy in the winter, and maybe a bit of artwork on the walls. It's also an opportunity for maybe you could have arts and crafts and local things for sale as well as part of the shop, but they could also be displayed around this area.
Out here, if we just go here at the front door, then we're going to have a men's shed.
So we're heading back outside.
Back out the front door.
What's going to be up here, John?
Up here now it's going to be the men's shed. So this building is going to be all extended out here to the back. And we're going to have our garden up here and our men's shed up in the very corner up here.
Just up in this corner here.
Just here.
Across from the mindful garden.
Mindfulness garden.
The mindfulness garden I see is already taking shape as we speak. And the men's shed, that's going to be just in here, is it in the corner?
Sort of up the back corner there.
Kind of up there.
So tucked in nicely to the back. Yeah.
And why a men's shed as part of the local hub?
Women generally will meet for a cup of coffee or cup of tea and chat about how they're feeling. Traditionally men don't do that. And I suppose the tagline of the men's shed is that men don't talk face to face, they talk side by side while they're working on something. So it's to create a space for men to do whatever they want to do. It's not prescribed. It doesn't have to be woodwork or whatever. It could be playing cards or listening to music. Also within the building there will be kind of a canteen area for our community employment, TUS workers, RSS workers. And I guess as a community that was important to us because they do a lot of work, the people on the scheme, and we wanted them to have a place to go for their lunch, or if it's raining, and to show that the work that you do is seen, it's valued, it's important. Like my dad was on the scheme, another young man that was on the scheme, they both died by suicide very within a recent times of each other. So again it's to build up men's self-esteem, I guess, really, that I know that you're on the scheme, but we really appreciate what you're doing.
Really, our emphasis is the benefit to the community. In every aspect of what we're doing, whether it's in the hall, the hub, the men's shed. What we really, really want is to fulfil the needs of the people in the community. profit isn't our motivation.
Well, no, but you
But
have
value.
to find ways for money to come in to keep it running.
Yeah, exactly.
Just has to pay for itself.
Yeah.
It's
But
that what
the
they call a
value,
social
the soft
enterprise.
value
Yeah.
is really, really important to us.
Yeah.
The plans that you have, they seem so concrete. How did it go then once you'd approached the pub and you knew that they'd be interested?
Yeah. So we had a public meeting then. I think that meeting was maybe 2 years ago now, if not more.
We formed a committee then to kind of get things a bit more moving along, didn't we?
So anybody that was interested then in making it happen, we formed the local hub committee.
Were you all given jobs to do research and think about what would happen, or how did you come? Because you've put together a real plan for this. Is it?
Yes, we had to get planning sorted out.
So we had to apply for planning, you know. I suppose that in itself is a job and a half. I suppose from there then, I suppose talking to Ballyhowra development about, you know, what options were open to us. I suppose we would have had a good bit of support from Eddie Ryan, he's the councillor there in Limerick City and County Council, and Tom Neville, the TD. They've both been super helpful actually, and they would have been guiding us and helping us along the way as well.
We do fundraising events once a year. Is that right, Grace?
Yeah, so I suppose a lot of what we had to do costs money. So you need to pay, you know, your architect, and you need to pay this, that and the other. So we had to start fundraising. One of our fundraisers, we did the Cube, and that was, you know, really cool.
It was a good fundraiser, but also the Jerry Murphy.
Jared Murphy, yeah. So we've been very lucky to be linked up with the Jared Murphy Memorial Car Show in Wexford. Breed Murphy and Pat Murphy lost their son to suicide a number of years ago, and we were very, very lucky to be chosen by them for the last couple of years to receive, you know, some of the money they've raised, which really, I suppose, just having that, you know, money coming in from them when we were just starting off, you know, I really do think it helped so much.
You decided then to apply for funding.
So we applied for the Rural Regeneration and Development Fund, and that's, I suppose, you know, specifically for rural communities. You know, I think the government is conscious of the fact that rural Ireland is in decline, and they're trying to do something about it. So this funding came up. They were looking for projects that were shovel ready. And we just happened to be shovel ready, so it was perfect timing. And we sent in the application. Ballyhowra and ourselves joined up, and we got news in last November. I got a phone call from Tom Neville just telling me that we'd got the funding. I was like, all right, okay, very good. And yeah, you've been approved for 626,000. And I remember I was standing in my kitchen. I was in the middle of changing a nappy, actually. And I have to say, I said, sorry, what? And he said, yeah, 626,000. I was like, oh my God, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And then I was like, are you really sure? And he sent me a picture of a document with Glenbrohane, 626,000 beside it. And then I said, okay, I believe him. And then I think I rang actually Mike Tobin, the owners here, just to tell them that you'll never believe what's after happening. And then my mother. And then everybody else from there. So it's kind of like winning the lotto.
We all shut up that evening then for a cup of tea and a bun with the excitement here in the hall.
Yeah, we had a sponge cake.
Yeah.
Bridget asked, all right, Bridget Fitz, are you how many noughts are after it?
Yeah.
Are you
That's right.
Yeah. It was just, and I suppose it was just, it was like a dream come true, really.
Yeah,
I suppose we
fantastic.
couldn't believe it for a long time. that this had happened to Glenbrohane, that this dream was going to become a reality. Like, I'm still gobsmacked by it all, really. That's the idea went from an idea, and it's like, I suppose we're meeting with Ballyhower and the quantity surveyor, and like, we're looking at putting it up to tender now in the next couple of weeks. You know, we're very close to starting.
There it is in black and white. It's happening.
So over here, just across from the hub now, at the side of the hub there's a small little boreen, and on the other side of the boreen is the community hall, and at the back of the community hall is a small garden space. And that's where we have put our mindful garden. It would tie in very much with the ethos of what we're trying to achieve in the local hub. It's a quiet space to come, to reflect, to be mindful in this very busy world, you know, to enhance your mental health and your well-being.
And to get it to this far in the Mindful Garden, has that been ye in there helping?
Yeah, a lot of the work was done by volunteers, which was great fun. We've had some
weekends, we've had a crowd here. We'd all be doing the work and having tea and buns.
Wheelbarrows punctured and shovels broken and tied up with cables. Yeah. But you know, it has been great fun. It's great. It's a great project.
It definitely, I suppose, has brought us all together, I would hope.
Grace, when you had that idea, you were thinking about people having somewhere to get to know each other, meet. It feels almost a little bit like that's already beginning to happen, because the four of ye are so excited all together on the one page about
even
this.
Just having the committee, and we've been doing this garden behind the community hall, and the days we've done that, just everybody coming together, talking about our idea and our plans, that's all part of it. Like, all the people in the committee I wouldn't have known so well before, and we've become friends, and that's the start of it as well. It's,
But
you know,
even
people doing something together.
And is it difficult to get people helping out, or to get people motivated to take that step to come and actually get involved?
Some people may not fully understand what we're trying to do. And so maybe not that motivated about getting involved. And
There's some negativity. People just think, oh, Glenbrohane's too quiet, that's not going to work. But I think if you've got enough people that are passionate about changing things, it's going to work.
Yeah. And I guess the experience with my father, you know, where I was in my life at that time, and my experiences and my motivation, you know, led me to start it, you know. And equally, there may be people out there now that don't know that they need the hub until it opens, and then they'll wonder how they ever managed without it before.
If there's another community listening and they're thinking, we need to do something similar in our community, would you think it is something that can happen in other places? Or?
Well, in my mind it is. When I was thinking about it, I really did think it was something that could be replicated across the country. Glenbrohane, what's happening here it's not unique. Like, it's, you know, it's happening everywhere. And I'm sure there are many, many rural pubs across Ireland that are lying empty now because, you know, they've been sold and the licenses are gone and nobody's coming. And the place where people met for their pint is no more. So, like, I would say, go for it. You know, fight for your town or your little village. You know, I mean, this is going to change Glenbrohane forever.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
And, you know, it took a long time for our money to come through, and there was times where, you know, you would be thinking, are we crazy? Is this project totally unrealistic for Glenbrohane? But, you know, in the end, all the hard work, all the hours, all the talking, the hoping, the dreaming, it paid off. And we're just, you know, we're just so excited. You know, I still can't believe it.
And if you look to the future, what's the hope?
I have 3 children now. and I want them to have the kind of memories that I have. Like, I have lovely memories of Glenbrohane, of the gala day, of meeting people, of there being an atmosphere around, a sense of community, a sense of belonging. That there is options here if they did decide not to move away from Glenbrohane, that there, or if they wanted to come back and live here in years to come, that there's something here to come back to. And just, I suppose that the hub is meeting the needs that have been identified. Be it, setting up a women's group, a book club, anything, the main shed, that it's been used and people are enjoying it. That's what I hope for, that it's busy, but not too busy.
About you, Betsy?
I'm thinking this time next year, there's going to be a lot more things going on. There's going to be more people. There's going to be people that have never been to Glenbrohane before coming to Glenbrohane.
This time next year, sitting outside, cup of coffee, sitting on a bench, and I could just picture people coming and going and the chat and the activity going on. And it's going to happen because I can just see it. It's going to be lovely.
Yeah. And I think seeing people, just seeing them, deciding to talk if you want to, but it will be actually the human contact will be the big thing for me. It hopefully will give people an opportunity to realise their ideas.
Yes.
If you have an idea and you come along and you don't have to make a big financial outlay to start off your idea, whether it's a knitting club, a book club, or whatever, or even just an exchange of ideas.
The space is there.
Yeah. The local hub is what Glenbrohane community needs. And please come and use it.
This programme was funded by the Broadcasting Authority of Ireland with the television licence fee.